Welcome to the IDP Guys podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hungarter at IDP Hunters. I am joined here by Grant Gillum at Grant_Gillum and AJ Veal. His handle is at the Baby Cows. Today we're going to discuss the first ever IDP rankings on IDP Guys. We're going to discuss defensive linemen, defensive backs, and linebackers. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. I can't wait to get into this.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Steve.
Oh, yeah. We're going to dig right in. For starters, where do you guys want to start first?
Let's do some defensive line.
Okay. Defensive line it is. I'm going to show you guys some of my little secrets that I look at. AJ, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Currently live on the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. I work for the top brain injury clinic in the Southeast, and I help vets on prior service as well.
And Grant?
Yeah, I work for the IDP Guys. I do all the back end stuff of their YouTube channel, so you don't really see my face too often out here out front, but occasionally I will get out here and talk some fantasy football with people.
Excellent. And as you guys know, I'm Steve Hungarter. I will be the host of the show. Just want to let you guys know my credentials. I am a writer on the IDP Guys. I'm also a writer on the Fantasy Six Pack. In addition to that, I'm an amateur ranker at the Fantasy Pros. Just wanted to show you a little bit about what we do over there. It's kind of a leadership board. They rank us based on accuracy, okay? So if you hang out with us each week, I'm going to kind of show you week to week what we've been doing, okay? Let me show you my screen, okay? So when you look at my screen, you will see all these pretty colors, okay? Now, again, I'm an amateur ranker. You won't see my rank until they promote me, okay? But when I go over and I click IDP, you will see that I'm ahead of all these other guys, okay? So I'm doing something right. We're going to figure it out together. I'm going to let you know some of my secrets. And that is my third #1 ranking in the last 5 weeks. That puts me year to date ahead of all of these experts. Okay. So I'm going to share with you some of them secrets, and hopefully you guys enjoy the show. Okay. Any questions, guys?
No, Steve, how many people are actually ranked on that list? Do you have any idea off the top of your head?
Yeah, it's over, hold on, let me look at it. It's over 300. It's like I said, it's a worldwide thing. So, but each category, I just started doing offense. So, yeah. I just started doing offense to get a little bit more of a higher score, but pretty much, yeah, anybody who has a website, an analyst, gamblers, there's all kinds of people doing that. So, what I wanted to do, guys, is I wanted to kind of dig into this, and I wanted to show you kind of what I look for as an amateur ranker, hoping to be a professional ranker. And if you guys don't mind, let's cut into the top 15 defensive linemen. So I'm going to share with you guys. You guys are in for a treat. I'm going to share with you the fantasy board, what I actually do, and what I actually do to define these players, okay? And Grant, AJ, feel free to jump in there whenever you want to. When you look at this board, when you guys look at this board, you're going to see some of the most common players on that board. You can't go wrong whenever you talk about Crosby, Max Crosby, Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, right? I think everyone would kind of say that those are tier 1 quality players. TJ Watt would be in there too if he wasn't on a bye week, but those are your 3. What kind of things you think you guys should probably look for when you're trying to define a quality defensive lineman?
We talking tier 1 guys, or
just
are we
in
talking
general? What are you looking for when you're trying to draft in your leagues a defensive lineman? Because I'll tell you what I look for. I just want to see what you guys would probably say to that answer.
One, I'm looking at scoring, and I want to look at production, snap count.
A lot of people don't do that, and I'm glad you brought that up, AJ, because something else I wanted to show you. When I'm doing this podcast, when I'm doing this leaders board, when I'm talking about my scoring differentiates from league to league. I am going to be talking to you guys scoring system that we are using to define this scoring here. Now, hold on a minute. Okay, solo tackles 1.5, assists 0.75, tackles for loss 2, sacks 4. Okay, this is the scoring that Fantasy Pros uses, and it could be gamed a little bit based on the rankings, but that's how I base my rankings. AJ, you are absolutely correct when you say the scoring in the context matters. Okay, but for this context, we're going to be looking at those categories. Okay, for defensive linemen, overall for a defensive lineman, what I'm trying to look for, when I'm trying to define a defensive lineman, I'm looking for snap count. Now, for defensive linemen, you're probably not going to get a high snap count. Anything over 60 is very doable. Linebackers, you're probably looking at 90, 100%. Defensive backs, I'm looking for 100%. That's a whole another category we'll talk about in a minute. But defensive linemen, if I can get around 60% snap count, if I can get a guy, I'm looking at straight sacks. Sacks, boom. The more times you play, the more snaps you get, the better. I'm also looking at win-loss percentage. All of that context matters. If I can't get a guy, and you'll see my list, you'll see a theme on my list as we go through. If I can't get a guy who has those qualities, high snap, if I can't get a guy who has high snaps, high tackle or sacks, I'm going to look for a guy that's a tackle monster who's going to be in the middle or be on the side, and he's going to make plays. So, all right, let me show you my rankings, okay?
Steve, real quick before we get into your rankings here. Now, your defensive ends and defensive line are all in the same category as defensive line, right? So how do you go and separate them within your rankings?
Excellent. So I have a breakdown. You're going to see on my list. You're going to see quite a few defensive tackles. Now, when I first started playing Dynasty or just IDP in general, people weren't really they were really skeptical about nose tackles because they'd get blocked. Well, yes and no, not really, because there's different kinds of defensive tackles. So you got to kind of know the coaching scheme, okay? There's a thing called the 3 technique and a 5 technique. A 3 technique is a player who is going to get stuck between the center and the guard. A 5 technique is a guy who plays outside the tackle. Right, AJ? So correct. A defensive tackle who plays a 5 technique, let's say Aaron Donald, he's just as good as a defensive end. And a lot of people stereotype those defensive tackles based on that, but it's really where the player plays and where the position and how the scheme fits. Okay, so we're going to get into it here. I'm going to show you my tiers. The first tier we got Max Crosby, Micah Parsons, and Nick Bosa. The reason I have them so high is they are monsters on the field, as you know. Okay, let's talk about Nick Crosby. He's got 15 solo tackles on the season. Okay, he is 4th in his positional category in tackles. Okay, he's 9th in assist tackles, which puts him at 2nd. He's actually got 5 sacks on the season, which ranks him 9th. Okay, Micah Parsons is the same deal. Just a little bit similar stats. 11 solo tackles, which puts him 15th at his position. 3 assists, which puts him around 34. And 4 sacks, which puts him at 14th. Okay? Nick Bosa is just coming back. So it's Nick Bosa, guys. He's going to be in your top 3 or 4 no matter how you slice this. Okay? Now, another thing I like to do is I like to look at – so when you look at ESPN has a great analytics site, and this is kind of what I look at as well as the matchups, okay? When you look at a guy and you look at how many wins that he has on the field versus the offensive lineman he's playing, okay? Usually a good offensive lineman, a good defensive lineman will beat an offensive lineman about 8% of the time. So 8 or more is pretty good stat. Micah Parsons is 30%. He's 30% on the line, okay? And you know who's not too far behind him? Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa is 30%. I'm sorry, 23% of the time he wins, and he actually wins double teams 30% of the time. So when you're looking and you're trying to define players and their positions, okay, always look for the tackles, the snap percentage, and, their ideal playing time. Does that make sense? Just wanted to check in with that. That's why I have those guys defined at tier 1. Does anybody have it any different?
When you're looking at this, are you going off matchups here? Because
I am.
I might be putting Nick Bosa here in the top, or actually probably 2nd. with him going against the Cleveland Browns and the offensive line struggles and a backup quarterback going this week, possibly.
So oddly enough, the Cleveland Browns are ranked 6th. They're ranked 6th on the defensive end. So, loosely 37.40% they give up. So they give up very big plays a game. So you're not wrong. 1, 2, or 3. It's kind of winner, chicken dinner. Take your pick. Take your pick at whoever you want there. But going against the Cleveland Browns, you're not wrong. 2 or 3. It's really separating themselves. It's really separating themselves by hairs when you're looking at it at this point. 1, 2, 3. It's not really going to matter too much in the grand scheme of things. But for me, for my money, I'm taking Crosby above everybody else. He's got a sweet matchup against the Patriots. I don't know how far you guys have been following it. The Patriots have been putting together a Scotch tape line all season. They're the 14th worst offensive line. They're giving up 34.40. And I don't really get too far down the rabbit hole with stats percentages till probably about week 7, week 8 when we see all this. Because my guy at 14th with New England at 34 points a game and your guy with Cleveland at 37 points a game, it's only 3-point difference. It's only a 3-point difference at this point in the season. Once we get more games in front of us, they'll be able to separate a little bit more.
Makes sense.
Okay, moving on a little bit. I'm going down to tier 2. Now, here's where it gets a little spicy. You guys know the order. You guys know Hunter, Hutchinson, maybe Myles Garrett. Depending on who you like, I just have it my own preference, my own way. Daniel Hunter, number 4. There's nothing wrong with Daniel Hunter. He's been hurt a whole lot in his career, but right now he has 12 solo tackles. That's tied for 9th at his position. He's got assist to tackle. He's tied for 6th, and then he's got 6 sacks on the year. So that's actually 4th at his position. So when you put it together, 9.64, he's a quality player. I almost put him in tier 1, but it's just too close up there. It really is. It's just too close between the positions.
Hey, Steve, I want to chime in on Hunter real quick.
Yep.
I don't know if this is just the circles that I run in, but I've been hearing that Hunter might be getting shipped out. So for him going from hand in the dirt every time, if he goes to a team that is running a 3-4, having him stand up, I wonder how that's going to impact him in the long run, right? So we've got 3 or 4 more weeks till the trade deadline comes up. So I'd be interested to see, because also dude wants to get paid. See if he continues to excel and perform, right? Mm-hmm. And own his worth and show the Vikings like, hey, I am the truth on this team. Or they're like, you know what, you're not worth it. We're gonna kick you out. And then that changed the whole dynamic, right? So this tier 2 category, those guys have the potential to maybe by the end of the year, once the data's there, to move up into that tier 1 category. Somebody's going to make it. If anybody, I'm going with the number 5 you have. That man is the truth. As a former Jaguar fan, I was very disheartened to see Trayvon Walker get picked over him. But sorry, I just had to say that about Hunter. I'm not sure if a lot of folks.
No, you're good.
Might be on the move.
Every single one of these tier 2 guys can be a tier 1 boom at any given time. And again, the criteria I'm looking for, like if we're playing Madden, I'm designing a player, I'm looking for snap counts. I'm looking for sacks. I'm looking for pass rush rate. All of those guys, in this tier 2, all of them check the box. Okay. Hutchinson, 4 sacks. He's tied for 14th. Okay. Then we got, Myles Garrett's Myles Garrett. He has 6 sacks in the season. That's tied for 4th. We got Burns. Burns got 5 sacks. He's tied for 9th. Okay. So every single one of those guys, any boom week, they're gonna be hit or miss. Okay. Continue to track snaps. I don't really as much worry about my defensive ends. I'd rather have a stud set it and forget it. Historically, that's usually your benchmark. If you see a snap count around 60%-ish, you're doing pretty good. Any one of those guys, any given week is gonna have that 60-70% mark. AJ, what says you about the next guy on the list?
All right, Josh Allen, one of the actual Jaguars' first-round draft picks that actually has been decent, but he's never lived up to his billing, right? This is the best year he's ever had. So if you go back, look at his rookie year, I think he finished with 10.5 sacks coming out, and everybody's like, oh, drooling, right? This guy has Myles Garrett potential, a lot of potential coming out of Kentucky. 3 years later, we're still waiting for this boom to happen. Now he's due for a payday, and he's playing his tail off. He's getting after the quarterback. He's making impact plays. He is facing the Colts, and I'm kind of interested because when you're looking at the matchup, the Colts have Minshew starting this week. We know with Anthony Richardson, he was just going to scramble out of the pocket, probably do a fumble, but Minshew's a smart player, and he's a former Jaguar. So and Jonathan Taylor's coming back. So I actually think using Minshew, being a good game manager, coming in, checking down, handing the ball off to Taylor Moss, and I don't think Allen is going to have as an impactful game as he's been having, strictly based on the team and the matchup that they're having this week. I really like Josh Allen. I hope he continues to do well, but my faith in him, it varies. I try to remove the bias of being a former Jaguars fan on him, but I don't see him putting up the numbers consistently. And I'd love to be wrong, but we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, and that's a good take on Josh Allen. I have him a lot of places as well. He's a cheap fill-in, especially during these bye weeks. I mean, this week we only have the Packers Steelers on a bye, but yeah, he's my 8th player, and he fits my tier 2 list. Now, when you look at tier 3, when we go to tier 3, these guys are still not a bad list. These guys are maybe slightly, just a little bit behind, just a little bit of an uptick. Maybe they have a couple weeks or two. At this time, I want to kind of show you some of the tools that we have available at IDP, guys. We have this great snap count tool calculator. And what I do is I kind of scroll through the weeks. I like to see what some of these players are doing. Let me just present that to you. Okay. Hold on a second. All right. So let me add that to the stage. So for all you guys that are subscribed over on the site, right, we would go down to tools. Really great tool we have. Feel free to go ahead and access that, my friends. But yeah, so when I go to tools and I look at all of these snaps that are available to me, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to pick the team. So let me just tell you right now, my next tier player is Sweat of the Commanders, okay? Montez Sweat. When I go down and I look for Sweat, let's see if he checks any of my criteria. I'll tell you why I have him so high.
So I got to pull it up for you. So
okay.
Week 1, he played 82 of the snap, 82%. Week
Holy
2,
smokes.
73. 72%. Week 3. Week 4, he was back up to 82. And then again, week 5, 75%.
Again, our benchmark is 60% when we're looking at numbers. If you guys are numbers guys, if you hear by talking to me, I just been playing IDP a really long time. IDP is nothing more than math. It really is. More so than offense. If you got the snaps and you're in a position to achieve the tackle, more than likely you're gonna get it. So you just heard Grant, 80%. That is ridiculous. You don't get that out of the top guy. I'm gonna add a little bit about the production. Sweat has 6 tackles on the season. He's tied for 4th with Myles Garrett. That's pretty darn impressive. Okay, the other metrics may not be there, but if you're getting 80% of the snap count on a routine basis, and you got a really good offensive line. Okay. I really enjoy this tier 3 because any one of these guys can be lightning in a bottle. Okay?
You might want to change it back to your rankings here. We're still on the IDP guys. Snap count.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm getting used to it. Sorry guys, just bear with me here. Okay. So we got number 9, Montez Sweat. As I just mentioned, he's tied for 6th in sacks. Okay. Anybody, when you look at this tier 3 from 10 to 15, anybody in here looks a little unusual, guys? There's a couple names that probably wouldn't be in any other rankers top 15. Anything stick out to you?
I got one for you, Steve.
What you got?
Nick Bonito.
Okay,
and,
let's hold that one for a second. Nick
okay.
Bonito's he's probably a little higher than most. I'm pretty high on him. We'll get to him in a second. The other name that's a little unusual is Sam Hubbard, okay? Now, Sam Hubbard, historically, he plays for the Bengals, and he's on a team with a guy named Trey Hendrickson. They're such a weird duo. Trey Hendrickson is a sack monster, doesn't do anything in tackles. Sam Hubbard is more of a tackle guy. Once in a while, he'll get you a sack. Those two are like Batman and Robin on the Bengals. They've been for years, okay? And this is where rankings get crazy. In a tackle-centric league, there are certain players that will jump up the list. In a sack-heavy league, other players will jump up the list. So in a tackle-friendly environment, like you've seen my scoring in the beginning, Sam Hubbard is your guy. Sam Hubbard, I'm not worried about your sacks too much because you're going to give it to me on the tackle line, okay? He's got 15 tackles for a defensive lineman. That is tied for 4th at that position. That's more than enough to get me by. He gets 10 assists. So you got 15 tackles solos at tied for 4th. He's got 10 assists. That's good enough for number 1 at his position. Okay, say he's a tackle guy. And you know what? Sometimes he hits on sacks. Sometimes he don't. He's got a few. He's tied for 4th this year on sacks. So he's a quality player. A lot of people don't realize it. You can usually sneak in and get him or pick him up a waiver wire in a shallow league. But, yeah, I have him in the top 10, no question.
I've got a nickname for him, Steve.
What you got?
Die Mannschaft. It translates to the machine. That dude he's a workhorse. He's an engine. He doesn't stop. I watched him play since he was at Ohio State. He does not quit. When you got a guy like that in the middle, and then that can also go outside and has that potential, he likes getting dirty. He likes popping people in the face. That's a guy I want on my team.
Okay. So in between Nick Bonito, we got 2 players I just want to highlight. Notice the defensive tackles, okay? And Christian Wilkins while you're at it. I got 3 defensive tackles in my top 15. Depending on your scoring, that's a little crazy, okay? Now, here's a little secret. Whenever you guys are looking at your leagues, I play on Sleeper. Look for TFL tackles for loss. If you guys got a solid tackle for loss rate, I'm going to say there's one league I play in, it's like 4 points, okay? That highly benefits the defensive tackles, okay? Or even a nose tackle, mind you, because they're the ones that are making plays on the ball. So usually in those kind of leagues or even tackle leagues, those guys benefit. Remember I was talking about 3 technique and 5 technique earlier? That was an excellent question. This is one of the reasons, okay? With Jones is, shocker, 5 sacks. He's number 1 in the defensive tackle department, okay? Every week you can get by, you can start Mr. Donald, okay? Chris Jones is number 1 in DTs. Aaron Donald has 11 tackles, 3 sacks, so he's right behind him. Excuse me on that, okay? In between those guys, I have a player, Nick Bonito. AJ, what says you about Nick Bonito?
All right, so I'm pretty sure most of the population was until a couple weeks ago. I had him stashed last year on a taxi squad. Recently got promoted after I missed out on about 40 fantasy points within the first 2 weeks. This dude's averaging a sack a game. He has pedigree. He played for St. Thomas Aquinas High School, right? If you don't know that, they have a ton of former retired NFL players on their coaching staff. They're up for a state of Florida high school championship year in, year out. Then he went to Oklahoma. He balled out. Let me check my notes real quick. He was 2nd-team All-American, has 4.5 speed, right? And right now he's averaging a sack a game, and he's only getting better. This is his 2nd year in the league, and he's making an impact on a team that's really nobody knows what's going to happen. Are they going to implode or are they going to figure it out? Because they have the pieces, they have the coach. What's going to happen? But I think he's one of the shining stars on the Broncos on what could happen with them and kind of maybe bring them back to reality. And I want to ask y'all a question real quick. Did you guys know that the Chiefs in free agency this past season signed a 6'5", 340-pound running back?
I did not.
Okay, so Jawan Taylor is his name, former Jacksonville Jaguar in the backfield. That's the matchup I'm looking for with Bonito to eat this week, right? So Bonito lined on him. That's what I'm looking at, right? If Taylor gets flagged, Andy's going to get in there and say, hey, you got to line up right. That 4.5 speed, he's going to get around. He's going to get those stats. That's quick release. Even with him doing all the crazy Chief stuff that they do, I still think Benito performs, and he keeps performing. I think he gets at least 1 sack for sure.
Good take. Now, I'm going to say something else, too, about Nick Benito. You can probably get him off of waivers. I wrote a waiver article on Fantasy Six Pack. People are starting to catch on, but last time I checked, he was rostered in less than 30% of leagues. Okay. Now here's why. I'm going to tell you the deal with Nick Benito. Okay. He didn't start playing the beginning of season. Okay. So the Broncos had scheduled in pencil, they had Frank Clark and Randy Gregory. Randy Gregory just got traded. Frank Clark is away. So Jonathan Cooper and Nick Benito are now the new, I guess, sleepers, if you would. They're the new players there, okay? So Nick Benito came on during the Bears game in week 4. He wooed the coaching staff with a strip sack that pretty much changed the momentum of the game. The last 2 weeks, Benito has had 4.5 sacks in the last 2 games. He's coming on real quick. So that's talking point 1. The second talking point about Nick Benito that I want to add, when you hear the Broncos, you don't really think of a pass rush. They're ranked 32nd right now. They're playing the Chiefs this week, kind of pushovers, right? Well, a lot of those stats are for the guys that played earlier this year. These new up-and-comers, expect Sean Payton to turn that around.
How did he perform versus the Dolphins?
Who, Benito?
Yeah, I want to see.
He had 6 tackles that game, but he wasn't a starter yet. And you know what? It's funny you say that. This is his snap count, okay? Start off beginning of season 25, jumped up to 62. That's a good benchmark, right? Dolphins game, he hit 64. Bears game, 67. Last week, 74. Put that man in your squad.
Yep.
The other guy in our top 15 that I want to talk about is Christian Wilkins. Nothing really special here. He's a tackle monster. In any kind of tackle settings, he's good to go. If you're playing in a sack-heavy league, not so much. But his numbers speak for himself, okay? Christian Wilkins, he's got 11 solos on the season, which is 16. And he's got 2 sacks on the season, which is 16. So what does that tell you? In a deeper league, he's tier 1. In the shallower league, he's tier 2. So he's always on your list. He's good enough to get you a couple points here and there. Start him if you got him. But yeah, Christian Wilkins, he's kind of a sneaky player. So what I want to do now, guys, I know we went over the top 15 as promised. We got a lot of people in the audience that maybe need to go a little deeper, like myself. What I'd like to do is just kind of scroll. This list isn't going to change much. It's not going to change much. What I kind of want to do for the audience, for you paid subscribers, if you kind of want to look at my list, if you want to look at my tier 4s, my tier 5s, I go pretty deep, my friends, and I base it all on that analysis. I base it on win percentages. I base it on sacks. And then if I can't get that, I will throw in some high tackle guys. But as you can see, I got a top 70 list. So I just wanted to show that to the audience. You guys are playing in deeper leagues. I know me and AJ, we play in a couple 32 leagues. It's the real deal. Any questions on DLs? I'd like to move to defensive backs.
Yeah, real quick. I see you got Myles Garrett at 6.
I do.
He's going against San Francisco. They've only been maybe 1.6 sacks or 2 sacks or something like that per game, maybe a little bit less. Are you still feeling good about him going against San Francisco this week?
Yeah, and the only reason I got him down a little bit is because I'm higher on Hunter and Hutchinson. I really am. I never bet against Bosa. I never do. And then, Parsons, Crosby, and when Watt's there, they're just the holy trinity, So that's the only reason I'm a little bit downer on Garrett. But he's the same guy. He's going to get his snaps week to week. To be honest, this whole list, I'm fine with the top 15. I might even go 16, right outside of our top 15. Guys like Bosa, Buckner, Williams, you're just fine on. AJ, I got number 20. I got Ed Oliver. You got anything on Ed Oliver?
Yeah. I like this dude coming out of high school. He is an animal. He's a freak of nature. For some reason, he chose to go to Houston, but that did not impact him. When he went to Buffalo, I thought this dude was going to be the truth. And he's starting to finally come around, right? Having the All-American pedigree, but his thing, something I checked out a stat line earlier. He gets a ton of tackles for losses, right? And let me check it. He's averaging just under a sack a game. Von Miller's back. Wiley might just be like, they might be weaning him into the game, right? I really think once Von, he gets going, and then even look at Epinesa last week, that may have been a fluke in my opinion. And now they're playing the Giants. So I think Ed Oliver can really have another monster game facing a very, very porous Giants offensive line. There's no reason this dude doesn't finish with probably 12 sacks on the season. He should eat for sure versus the Giants. There's no excuse why. He's playing guys that went to San Jose State, right? A bunch of D3 scrubs, number one guy coming out of high school, like he is Ed Oliver. If you don't know who he is, look him up, watch his film from college, watch what he's done. He's finally coming around and coming off injury and whatnot. But I think when they put it all together, that for Buffalo is gonna be. Hopefully, they can put it. Watch.
Gotcha. All right, moving on to defensive backs. There are 3 categories I like to use when I'm trying to define rankings. 2 are very simple categories. One is an advanced metrics, which I will get into as we go. The first 2 categories are really easy. You can find them anywhere. I go on the snap count site. I go on IDP tools. I use that a lot here. But I also use fantasydata.com, and I'll pull things. So the 2 things I look for, first thing I'm looking for with a safety, I'm looking for tackles. If I can get a tackle machine back there, all the way back in the safety position. It used to be when I used to play, when I first started playing, it was strong safety. Now you can't go off that anymore. You'll see a bunch of strong safeties and you'll see a bunch of free safeties on this list. They're kind of interchangeable the way the game is played now, but I'm looking for tackles. If I can't get a tackle monster, then I'm looking for my second category, which is passes defended. So if I don't have a guy who is a monster, almost like a third linebacker, I'm looking for a guy who's really good in coverage and is going to defend the pass. Okay, so let me show you the list without further ado. And let me just put a disclosure. I hate safeties. I don't know how you guys feel. Safeties is the most boom or bust position each week. It really is. Such a not fun category. It's the highest turnover that you're going to get week to week. So what I did is I only put 2 people in my top tier because really, honestly, if you're drafting most league formats, mind you, if you're drafting defensive backs early, you're probably missing out on premier linebackers, defensive linemen. It's just a common strategy to stack up on those guys and maybe punt the position. So, I'm not really a big fan of defensive backs, but if you got a guy like Derwin James, I mean, holy cow, Derwin James historically, when he's not hurt, is a monster. He's got 20 tackles on the season. More importantly, he's only given up 7 receptions this year. That's it, just 7. I mean, not too many guys can do that. AJ, what says you about Derwin James?
I really when he played, able to play, and that right. So is taking a guy like Derwin or starting him, out like the pros outweigh the cons. Now, if you go through and you deep dive into his stats overall, right? They're nice, they're fancy, but it's so. However, look, they're playing Dak, right? I really think this game is going to be 30 plus points apiece. going back and forth, high-scoring affair. If Dak has to throw the ball 30 times a game, guess what? Derwin James' interception stats, just the percentage increases that much. Dak is a poor decision maker, and it's that the numbers show there. So even though James doesn't have a lot of INTs, I really think he has the ability to maybe snag one in this week. He's fresh. I don't think he played last week. They're playing at home in front of the fans. Fair. Therefore, he's going to eat. He's going to put up some good numbers. And hopefully, I'll get it now. Hopefully, get Dak's due for another 3-interception game.
Gotcha. Now, honestly, I kind of like Holland. Holland is a breakout candidate this season. Previous years, people would stay away from Holland because he didn't really have the tackles. He didn't really have the box play. He didn't have a lot of these things. But now that Nick Fangio's there, they seem to be favoring him. Let me tell you about Holland, okay? Holland has 34 tackles on this season. That's tied for second at his position. So not only is he a beast and he's making the plays when called upon, but he's also only gave up 12 receptions all season. And that's 11th ranked at his position. So overall in coverage and in run support, he's your guy. If you get Holland, I wouldn't be shocked to see him on many rankers top number 1. It's just hard for me to go against Derwin James, a healthy Derwin James. As we know, last year you see what he did to Travis Kelce with the WWF move. I mean, mad respect right there. But it's really apples and oranges between those two. And so for me, I got James tier 1, and I got Holland tier 1. To even add a little more to that, the position, the team he's playing this week is the Panthers, right? The Panthers give up the third most at the safety position, 43.80. They give up a game to those safety positions. So third worst, good player, tackles. He's making all the sweet plays. Yeah, sign me up for some Javon Holland this week.
Hey, Steve, I got a question for you.
Uh-huh.
So with a team, and last time I looked, this was accurate. You might be, maybe Grant, you can check this out. Still lead the league in passing yards and rushing yards.
Say that one more time.
Do the Finns still lead the league in passing yards and rushing yards? And if so, playing the only winless team in the league, the Panthers, right? So if the blowout happens, just something to consider. And this is what I keep in the back of my head sometimes, right? Because, if Ray Lewis is facing, us on the football field, right? Everybody on the sidelines licking their chops, be like, oh, Ray Lewis is going to destroy these guys. So what happens? At what point does Josh McDaniels say, hey, I've got, 6 All-Americans playing on my defense right now. The score's 40-0. Do they pull them? And I know that's not typically an NFL thing. They leave the starters into the end. But as many injuries are happening to big name, high name, high profile performing players, do you have to take that into account to pull your starters out when you're up 30-0 in the third quarter?
Gotcha.
So if they're putting it on the worst team in the league, maybe his snap count decreases. I mean, that might be something to consider. I don't know if there's anything historically to show on how McDaniels actually pulls folks, if there's anything to show on that, but it's something to consider, trying to think outside the box, right? If you're torn, maybe it is Derwin James. Maybe that's the deciding factor that I come down to on who I should go with. Just
gotcha. So this next tier, okay, they're all going to be pretty much the same criteria I just showed you guys. Anybody jump off the map to you? Anybody shocking up in there? I have, if you guys see my list.
In tier 2?
Yeah, I have Cameron Curl at 3. I have Hill at 4. I got Antoine Winfield at 5, and I got Love at 6. Yeah. Anything jump out to you guys?
Julian Love, Pinnock. I don't know, but Julian Love seems.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't really key on Julian Love. So this is me predicting the breakout right now. You're going to be seeing that name a lot more like Benito upcoming weeks. So if you guys are listening to the podcast, enjoy that little tidbit. Let me take a little quick detour to you real quick and just remind you about the snap counts and all of that stuff. I don't really worry too much. I don't worry too much about snaps with the safety. I worry more about that tackle and that my third category, which is an advanced metrics. I look at that box safety. If I can get a guy who plays in the box a lot, and that's what you're seeing with Love. You're seeing him play that old Jamal Adams role. Okay. If I can get that that's my third category I look at. If I can get that sweet spot, and you guys, if you ever go on the IDP guys page, you got an excellent snap count share. You can see all these players here. I'm going to highlight Julian Love, guys, and a lot of people aren't paying attention to this. Look at weeks 1 through 4. He's 100% every week. The other thing, too, a lot of people talk about snaps, but let's talk about plays. I can be a 100% snap player and only play 40 plays a week. He's playing 81, 66, 67, 75 from that great box roll. He's going to generate yourself some plays, okay? So those are my 3 criteria I'm looking for. I'm looking for a player that's going to creep up to the edge, the line of scrimmage. And this whole category is nothing but that, okay? Again, look at the scoring system I'm playing in. I'm trying to game that system, okay? So let's talk about this category, okay? Cameron Curl, 33 tackles. Actually, you know what? Let me pull it up, guys. Let me pull up the ranker, make it a little bit more make sense to you. Okay, Cameron Curl, 33 tackles. That's tied for 4th at his position. Only gave up 15 receptions. That's tied for 9th. Okay, next guy, Hill. Hill's got 25 tackles. That's 13th at his position. Only gave up 9 catches. That's tied for 22nd. Okay, I'll take it. Antoine Whitfield, 21 tackles, just 5 receptions. That's still good. Now I want to just caution to the wind. 21 tackles, Whitfield, Hill got 25. That's a difference in what? A mere 1 tackle a game less than. So any given week, these guys can jump up and down. I'm just looking at the tier itself. And of course, I just talked about Julian Love. Here's something else I do, guys. When I'm in a combo league, especially a big league, I'm going offense first, and I'm looking for guys that people don't know. The Julian Loves, and there's a couple on this list that I will talk to you guys about. Okay, I'm looking for stuff like that. I'm stacking up on all the good offense I can. I'm coming back around for players like this. I don't keep a lot of IDP players. I kind of change them out like spare tires, especially at the defensive back category. I really do. Because if you know numbers and you know metrics and you know what to look for in a player, you're going to find those criteria. And again, even if we're wrong about the ranking and he's not 8th, he's 9th or vice versa, you're going to have a quality week regardless if you're looking for that in your safeties. Okay. Any questions on those guys?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move along just a little bit. I put Jalen Petrie in here. It's nice to see him back. It's nice to see him come off the injury. It's more of a wait and see, hopeful. If you drafted him that high, he's definitely tier 2. He may even break out of this category. But yeah, right now, until I see it a little bit more, he's at the bottom of my tier 2. Maybe that's me being a little bit safe, but I'm a lot more higher on the Loves, the Hills, and I've been a big Cameron Hill supporter since the offseason. I wrote a couple articles about him. That's the only reason why I have Petrie like that. One caveat before we do the final category. I was waiting to see if you guys would have mentioned the name. There's one guy that's off this category that a lot of rankers still have high. The name is Brisker of the Bears. Okay. A lot of people are still ranking Brisker high. I'm going to tell you why I don't have him high, okay? I'm going to tell you why that rookie breakout that he had isn't the same as this year, and he's on a sophomore slump. There are two really good linebackers in front of him, Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards, and they are soak up all the tackles. If you got that in front of you, there's not really a lot of scraps behind you. And if you're not a big play guy, you're not going to really develop. I mean, the player's fine. You might have to dynasty stash them, but the way I play, I don't really stash too many IDPs. What I was going to tell you guys earlier, I kind of put my IDP players in tiers. So if this guy's gone, I'll take this guy. If this guy's gone, next man up sort of thing. Okay, so that's kind of why you see the categories the way I do. I put 2 defensive backs up front, then followed by the next and the next tier. Any questions on this category? Okay, I'm going to jump down a little bit to tier 3. Anything pop off for you guys? Anything you see in there a little weird? Got a couple names in there. Okay, I'm going to start with old man Harrison Smith. I know, right? Old man Harrison Smith has been doing this a couple years now, okay? Again, he hits everything I want in a safety. 25 tackles, that's tied for 13th. And he's got 11 pass catches on him, which is tied for 17th, okay? They're close. He's close. He could have possibly jumped in the other category, but this is where I kind of kept him. Don't sleep on Bird. Kevin Bird is having a quiet season. Ranked number 9th for me. He has 26 tackles on the year. Okay. They're close. Smith is 25. He's got 26. The difference is the catch or two. He gave up 13 receptions, tied for 6th. Okay. Now, these next couple guys, Reed Blankenship, Julian Blackman, Cameron Bynum. These are all names at some point in the season you guys could have got off waivers. Okay. If you go ahead and look at your sleeper or stats or whatever you got, you're seeing they're putting up a whole bunch of points. Okay. They all fit a category. Starter, high pick, gets hurt. They go ahead and go in. They play a similar role, right? So for my third advanced matrix, what you're looking for with these guys, you're looking for who gets that safety in the box spot. So for Blackman, for example, Blackman is not the athlete as the other guys are, by no means. However, he plays in a scheme where he's almost like the 4th linebacker. Do you guys know he plays 80% of his snaps in the sweet spot, in the box? Delpit's right up there with them. I have him slightly more a little down, but the Browns overall are a solid defense this year. Overall, they are playing lights out. Really good football. When everybody's playing good, you got to kind of sacrifice for the team a little bit, but he's slightly down. But every single one of these guys in your category, these are players that I start every single week, different places, because they were easy to find. And the best thing of all, they are cheap. And I'm just going to read you some stats just because I like to talk production. Okay. Wallace, Kayvon Wallace, 30 tackles. That's tied for 6th, right? Receptions, tied for 11th. He fits my criteria. Reed Blankenship, 22 tackles. That's tied for 25th. Only gave up 12 receptions, tied for 11th. Blackman, no, we already did that one. Bynum, 37 tackles. Do you know what that ranks him? Yep, number 1. Bynum is number 1 in tackles right now. Holland is the only one close enough to him with 34. Okay, now he's given up 25 receptions. Okay, well, that's good, sweet tackle time. Let me get the tackles. And then, of course, we said Delpit, who rounds out my category. Any questions on these guys?
No, so Browns fan here. So I'm going to quiz you on Grant Delpit here. Schwartz likes to bring him down to the line, blitz him.
Yes.
Does that play a huge factor in where you're ranking him?
Factor. So Schwartz is a really good quality defensive coach. The scheme he likes to run, a lot of times they call it a wide 9. Okay.
Wide 9, yep.
He likes to rotate his defensive linemen around a lot. Now you got Myles Garrett, so he's going to get all the snaps, but everybody else kind of gets a nice little piece. Okay. Now, while he's doing that, who really gets a strong role in the Schwartz defense, mind you, is the safety. The safety comes down. Now, I predicted that breakout on the Fantasy Six-Pack, the waiver article I wrote. Who's going to play that strong safety role in the box? You had 2 options this year. You had Juan Thornhill, you had Grant Delpit. Grant Delpit kind of sort of had a great year last year too, 100 tackles, right? So Thornhill's game is more in coverage. He's a quality player too, but that's his game. So obviously the breakout was coming. That's the matrices I used. I used the box snap percentage of the coach. And the Colts are the same way. The Colts are the same way using Blackman right now. So if you got an eye and you know how to read stats and categories, it all starts with the snaps. If you don't get the snaps, you don't have the coach's trust, you're not going to be able to get the production. What I want to do, guys. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, is there any, do you have three other defensive backs that maybe you would see in the mix here that you don't see this week?
You know, honestly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the audience. You guys see my screen, right? I'm going to show my audience my defensive backs. And any given Sunday, it's a crapshoot. It really is. I put Justin Simmons slightly outside the top 15. That defense is getting kind of passed on, dink and dunked. He's playing the Chiefs Thursday night. That's where I got him. Ryan Neal was a guy that most people didn't know about until last year. PFF broke him out. He had top matrices. Von Bell, the Panthers, has been good. Okay. I'm still rocking with Isaiah Simmons till I find out what the heck the Giants are doing, but I put him there. Jenkins, rock hard, steady with the Jaguars, and Xavier McKinney. So these are kind of like any one of those guys any given week can break the top 10. But yeah, if you guys can see my screen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the audience, our subscribing audience here. This is my rankings. Some of these players may move around week to week based on the injury, based on the matchup, but this is kind of what I'm going with right now. Okay. Some of these players I'm a lot more fond of than others, but you'll notice I'm a little more risky with some of my picks. I got a couple cornerbacks in here, which when I first started playing, nobody wanted to touch a corner. Well, the game has changed. The game has changed nowadays where you can get by with the slot corner. McDuffie of the Chiefs rings a bell. You can get by with a slot corner, put him in the middle, only run two linebackers. So what does that create? You got a Sam linebacker. He's like your third linebacker on the field. So you're seeing a lot of corners now. Jalen Ramsey, that was done with the Rams the last couple of years when he was there before he went to the Dolphins. You're seeing that a lot more now. You're seeing slot corners being played as like that third linebacker because it's a pass-heavy league. Most leagues we play in, this is the king of all of IDP. This is your quarterback. These are the guys reading plays, making tackles, making interceptions. Not every linebacker is created equal. There's different stats. This is my favorite of all the positions, okay? There's different stats that you need to account for with each player. We're going to start with snap count. You got to know the snaps. Generally, out of a linebacker, I want a guy 100% snaps. 90, 100% snaps. That's what I'm looking for. You can mine linebackers sometimes when a guy goes down. Troy Anderson comes to mind on the Falcons. Troy Anderson comes to mind. You can mine a guy and get a guy like Nate Landman. I mean, I'm not as highly ranked on him. I'm not as thrilled with the position, but you'll still get your points. If you're in a tackle-heavy league, linebackers are going to lead the way every single time. Moving on to linebackers. Any given week, anybody's rankings, anybody's tiers, you're going to see three guys. And we just presented a fourth one. You're going to see Roquan Smith. You're going to see Nick Bolton. You're going to see Olakun. You're going to see those three. And just recently, you're going to see Zaire Franklin. You're going to know why in a couple seconds, why he is highly touted. Now, this week, Nick Bolton is coming off an injury. He just got the green light. He is now practicing slowly. I don't have him ranked high. It's not a very good expectation. So this is what I mean with check back later in the week. I put Nick Bolton just to be safe outside maybe the beginning of tier 4. I don't really have him high right now until I know what's going on there. There's players in back of him. clearly when he's out, Drew Tranquil is productive. Okay. Of course, when Nick Bolton comes back, he's going direct back to the bench. He's going to be disregarded. So I don't necessarily have either one ranked too high this week until we see what happens tomorrow. Right now, Bolton's on a limited snap count, so that's probably going to affect both guys.
Okay.
Generally, at least historically in football, when you have two linebackers playing, they tend to vampire each other. They tend to eat each other's plays because they're saying the same position. In the new modern day NFL, you will usually see a third safety or a third corner. You'll see a lot of teams running two linebackers, generally close to 100%. So these rankings I'm about to show you, they're a little unique because I got a couple guys on the same team in the top 15. And you probably won't see that too often, but I could verify and I could explain why that I came out with my findings.
Yeah. For instance, I see you have Bobby Wagner, Jordan Brooks in your tier 2.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? You just said linebackers tend to vampire tackles and points from each other.
Yes. So, and then also you're going to see a little later on, you're going to see Quincy Williams, who is, you're hearing it first. He's on a breakout performance. Same thing, CJ Mosley. And then there's another one with the 49ers, Greenlaw and Warner. When you have two linebackers that are generating 100% and they're both having their own roles each week, they can eat. They can have their own. They can have their own. They can have their own role on the field. If you look at offenses, the way they go, it's a pass-happy league nowadays. It's very centric. There's a lot of plays that trickle downfield. So each player here. Let me just show you one. Okay, let's go to. I'm going to go out of order real quick just to show you the tools. We're going to go to the Jets because that's usually the one that catches my eye. Why the heck do you have two Jets in your top tier? Well, I'm going to explain it to you, okay? So here is the Jets when you're looking at the snap counts, okay? Now, like I said, typically it's a misnomer. People can work outside with each other, okay? So we have Mosley and we have Quincy Williams. They're both top two linebackers, okay? 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%. Quincy too, 100, 97, 96, 96. He probably comes out on a couple plays now and again. But look at all these snaps they are generating. 69, 69, 87, 84, 72, 69, 70, 67. It's almost, I guess the answer to your question, it's almost like they're playing in their own games. They got their own little team and they got their own little setup because they're generating the snap count. Okay.
Now, is that because the offense is so bad that you're seeing high snap counts here?
Yes, you are seeing both of those guys are logging in over. If you were to add that up super quick. So we look at Mosley, you got 69, 87, 72, 70. So 69, 87, 72, and 70. If we were to add up all that, that's an excellent question, Grant. So if you were to add up all that, CJ Mosley has 303 snaps on the season. That's extremely high. So one thing with linebackers, yes, look at the snaps, but also look at the volume. The Jets offense is pretty bad. So let's compare that to the Bills. The Bills got a pretty good offense, right? The Jets got a bad offense, okay? So the Bills had, well, at the time, Matt Milano was 100%. He was 100% snap count guy. So was Bernard. And then the Jets have a fairly 100% in Quincy Williams and CJ Mosley. So if we were to go to snap count calculator and we were to add up the Bills and we go over here and we go to, let's go to the Bills real quick because I got CJ Mosley at 303 snaps and you already know that Quincy Williams isn't too far behind, okay? So let's do the Bills. They're kind of easy to pick on here with this category, but great example.
You could look at Terrell Bernard here. He's going 54, 34, 47, 65. Quite a big difference from where the Jets are.
Oh, yeah. So Terrell Bernard Let me add that real quick. So we got 54, 34, 47, 65, and then some 88. So let's see. So we got, so 244 to 303. If you look at Milano, 54, 34, 47, 65, and again, every week but week 5. So if you take out Matt Milano and just go 54, 34, 47, 65, he's only getting 200. So that's nearly a full more game. If you were to look at week 1 to week 4 on that example, that's nearly a full game worth of snaps that CJ Mosley and Quincy Williams are logging in. So that's why the 100% snap count, yes, it's nice, but how many snaps are they actually generating? The top three at our well, since we're in snaps, let me just go to. So I want to show you guys something. You see, CJ Mosley was a monster. Okay, I doubt it because no one's seen it coming. It was Shaq Leonard, it was EJ Speed, it was a bunch of different other players. But Zaire Franklin, his role is locked down. He's probably going to be my number 1 this week and number 1 next week, depending on the matchup. But look at Zaire Franklin. 100% 70 snaps, 100% 84 snaps, 100% 72. Week 4, 91% 75. Week 5, 100% 60 plays. When you're looking at snaps, all of that stuff's important, okay? Because what it's going to do is it's eventually going to generate turnovers, generate tackles, okay? What I wanted to show you in this category, I look for a couple things, my metrics. I'm looking for solo tackles. I'm looking for assists. Now, it's broke down, Grant, solos and assists, okay? Maybe, whatever. And then I look at, the snaps and the player, what they do. Now, question for you. Do you know some players are better at assists? Some players are better at solos. Any reason? Why do you think they why do you think a player is a better solo tackler than an assist tackler?
I'm going to have to say maybe they're not playing in the middle of the field.
It could be, and it could also be, this guy's a go-to guy. Think of like a Ray Lewis, a Dick Butkus type. This guy here makes the play, and the guy's down. He's an all-pro difference maker. Versus you've seen Matt Milano stats. Hey, he gets it. He's more of a hit or miss turnover kind of guy. I'm a solo. I'm a team player. I'll get you down. So kind of when you look at these numbers, and we'll go into that different weeks, but when you look at different numbers, you can kind of tell what kind of player you have on your team. With Franklin, he's a tackle monster. He's good to go. Olakun, he's got a great matchup against those Colts. And he actually has 37 tackles on the season at his position. That's ranked 4th. He also got 14 assists, so he can do both. He's a solo and an assist guy. He's ranked 12th in assists, and he's ranked 4th at his position in tackles. If you were to go down just a little bit to Smith, Smith's a similar player. He's got 36 tackles as opposed to Olakun's 34. So it's literally apples and oranges with those two. Personally, I like Olakun better. He led the league in tackles 2 years on 2 different teams. Hats off to that guy. So it's more of a preference to me. But Smith is right behind him with 36 tackles, tied for 5th. 20 assists. He's tied for 1st. So that guy gets his own tackles, and then he helps his team out and gets more tackles. What more can you ask with Mr. Smith? The next tier, I kind of already hit CJ Mosley. You're going to see a couple guys that are just a couple years older than the top guys, but there's nothing wrong with this tier. You got old man CJ Mosley, 31 years old. He's got 36 tackles on the year. That gets him 5th at his position. Interceptions, he's 5th. 15 assists, that's tied for 10th. So anything CJ Mosley does, and you've seen the snap count, anything CJ Mosley does, top tier guy. Every week you should see him somewhere in the top 10. He's matchup proof to me. He really is. And his buddy coming up, which I have ranked in 11th, Quincy Williams, he's starting to become matchup proof too. As you see, both of those guys, they have their own stat line. While CJ Mosley's doing that, believe it or not, Quincy Williams at 11. I know I'm skipping around. I just want to get this one out. Quincy Williams is ranked 7th. He got 35 tackles. He's not far behind Mosley with 36. Okay. He's 9th with 26. Mosley's got only 15. And he's first in forced fumbles. It's only one, but he's first, you know? So both of those guys, to answer your question early, both of those guys can coexist because they're that good and they're that good in their scheme. And it's 2 linebackers with 100% snap count. It's not like they're rotating in and out. Moving down to 5, I got Bobby Wagner. Again, another old guy, 33 years old. Okay, he's third amongst. He's got combined tackles. He's 10th. Okay, and assists. He's 8th. Just another really good quality player overall. When in doubt, Bobby Wagner at this point is matchup proof. The opposite, I would say, to Jordan Brooks. Jordan Brooks, to me, some players are just natural athletes. Jordan Brooks is a freak of nature. He's just a freak of nature. Coming off this injury, injury freak, comes in, just plays like that. Most people were not expecting him to do what he has done. So regardless, when you just have some guys like that, they're just boom every week. You got to start them. So just want to show you when Jordan Brooks is on point, the last couple of weeks on Sleeper, he's logged 12 tackles, 11 tackles, 8 tackles, 10 tackles. His snap percentage is a little lower than all the other guys I have in here, okay? 64% week 1, 86% week 2. Week 3, it went up to 80. Week 4, 77. So he doesn't necessarily hit my criteria, but sometimes the athlete is worth the gamble, and sometimes the athlete is better than the metrics that we're using. But that's why I have both those guys in there, and I really don't stray from those two too much. But I'd say Brooks is more of a matchup situation, give or take, and I would say that Bobby Wagner, he's a must start almost every week now, every single week. If you look at the matchups this week, both of those guys are in a pretty good situation. They're playing the Eagles, okay? The Eagles give up a lot of points to the linebacker. They're actually 6th worst. They give up 45.60 fantasy points a game. So do you see what I'm saying there? Grant, both of those guys can eat.
Yeah.
So, okay. I'm just gonna skip that a little bit. Okay, so we got Jordan Brooks. We're going down to number 7 is Ernest Jones. Ernest Jones to me is the opposite of Brooks. Ernest Jones is going to be on the field every single day. Okay, he's going to get all of those tackles that other guys are missing. By default, any given week, Ernest Jones is probably going to be in the top 10 in tackles. I mean, that poor guy. 35 tackles on the year, that puts him at 7th right now. Okay, assists at 18, that puts him at 3rd. So again, that's kind of a key what kind of player he is. Okay, all right, I'm going to help team effort. I'm going to help you clean up. Okay, I'm probably a better assist tackler than I am a solo guy, but I'm in the role. I'm getting the box points. Regardless, that's what you're going to get out of him. Don't see too many big plays, but that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy in that position. A lot of rankers have him a little higher. I'm not that convinced. He's more of a in the situation kind of thing. I'm not going to put him in my top 5. No way over Wagner, Mosley, Olakun, Smith. There's no way. Those guys are just getting massive snap counts each week. There's no way. But he's ranked 7th. 7th is good. I almost put number 8 ahead of him, but it's really drawn to tears. It really is. TJ Edwards has been amazing for the Bears. Believe it or not, he's ranked 2nd in tackles. He's ranked 2nd. Like I said, I almost moved him up a bit. And for assists, so he's got 43 tackles on the season, so he's ranked 2nd in his position. He's ranked 6th in assists, so he can do it all. Like Tremaine Edmonds, he's more of an athlete. He's more of a natural player in the field. He's making coverage. He's making big plays. Edwards does all that dirty stuff that we're looking for. He's looking to make cleanup plays. He's looking to make read the defense, diagnose it. And he did it with the Eagles. He's just finally now starting to get the respect he deserves. Any questions on those guys?
No, I think we're ready for some tier 3.
Okay. All right. Now I got another team up. Coming up. And you know it. It's with the 49ers. Okay. Number 9, I got Fred Warner. Number 14, I got Greenlaw. In recent years, if you go back to last year or the year before, Greenlaw was actually outplaying Warner. He really was. But this year, it looks like it's slightly turned around a bit. So that's just something to be mindful of when you're ranking these two. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to put them back to back, but they're quite similar. They're quite similar in snap count. Let me just compare the two for you to tell you what I'm doing. Okay, so actually, you know what? We'll just do Warner. Warner is 31st, 31 tackles, so he's 12th, but he's also fifth in assists. So that gets him through. Warner is where is Warner? Where do I have Warner? Let me see. Hold on a second. So yeah, Werner and Greenlaw. Okay. So give me 1 second, Grant. I got off my okay, so Greenlaw is gonna log you points every week. He has LB1 value, standalone value, but where his strength comes is solo tackles. He's just one of those dudes. He actually got 31 tackles on the season. That ranks him 12th. So anybody's list, he's up there. You know, he's 52nd with just 5 assists. So if you look at the two players, solo tackles is the game, okay? Solo tackles is the game versus Fred Warner. So that's Greenlaw. Let's look at Fred Warner. Fred Warner, and any given Sunday, this can be flipped around. It's going to drive you mad through the season. But Warner actually got 30. He's tied for 14th. But he gets a lot more assists. He gets a lot more. He's got interceptions. He's tied for 5th with 1. Forced fumbles with 1. So he kind of moves around a little bit. For this week, I have them ranked this way. Next week, they may go a different way. It's all based on what the 49ers do. But both of those guys are usually interchangeable parts at this point in their careers. They complement each other pretty well. Going down my list here, I'm going to go to 10, Devin White. Devin's just one of those guys. He's been around. The stats may not always be there, but he's going to be a guy in your field. He's in everybody's ranks. He's got a pretty sweet matchup. Who's he playing this week? Devin White is playing the Lions. So as you know, the Lions want to try to run the ball. They're middle of the pack, but they give up 41.20 to position. So I think they're ranked 17th, but there's nothing wrong with that right there. He can eat. Devin White can eat any given Sunday, and he's a natural athlete, so like Jordan Brooks. So I got number 9, Fred Warner, number 10, Devin White, 11, Quincy Williams, like I said. Here is a guy that I really like talking about. Number 12, Kaiser White. During the offseason, I predicted his breakout. And it's nothing short than looking at the Cardinals, looking at the defensive scheme. Okay? Gannon comes over from the Eagles. You know the Cardinals are a bit of a wasteland. It was a bit of a head scratcher. Yet Isaiah Simmons, that was still on the team, he was playing defensive back. Then you had Zaven Collins, who was moved down to defensive lineman. So there's no one in the middle. There's an oasis. You know, they're begging for somebody to make these tackles. Well, who's it going to be? And, you know, you go through the depth chart, usual suspects. You see a guy named Kaiser White, who's wore the green dot before with the Eagles. He comes over to Rich Gannon, who knows his system, and he played it. He got the position and has not looked back. Kaiser White has been amazing. He's definitely in my top 12. He is actually 10th this year on tackles with 34. And that's all you need, but he gives you assists as well. He gives you those cleanup play assists with 14 assists, and that's ranked 12. And he also got an INT on the season. Can't really argue with that. Kaiser White is a good quality pickup, and he probably didn't cost you anything to pick up. Another guy that may have not cost you anything is Pete Warner. Pete Werner of the Saints. I'm going to tell you, it was nice this week seeing him make a couple big plays, make an interception, but pretty much Pete Werner, 28 tackles. He's ranked 20th, assists 26th, 5th. He's kind of meh. He's kind of boring. I'd like to see him pick it up. He doesn't really do too much with the big plays. It was nice seeing it this week, but don't expect it. He's more of that Volkswagen. He gets you to work. He'll get you to work. He'll get you through the week, but not really exciting. Not by no means, but he'll get you to work. It's fine. The engine's running. No issue with Werner. Just know what you're getting with that player. Just a couple of tackles here and there. Don't expect big plays. That's not his game. And then lastly, actually the penultimate here, we got Greenlaw, as I mentioned. My 15th player here is, and you're welcome to pronounce that name if you want, Aziz.
Aziz Al-Shahir.
Yeah, and he plays for the Titans. This is one of those where I go back to the snap counts. Okay, he plays for the Titans, and let's be real, the Titans aren't really that good. Don't want to offend anybody, but they're really not. Where most teams are rebuilding at this point, they're trying to just truck along. He's on a team which is notorious mediocre offense, mediocre defense. So he's going to get plays week to week. He's in that sweet spot in the middle. When you look at Al-Shahir, he's definitely worth a look for your top 15. He gets 90. Week 1, he got 98% of the snaps. Week 2, 99. Week 3, 94. Week 4 and week 5, he's got 100. If you notice the numbers, it's high volume too. 64, 67, 65, 53. On the season, I got him 29 tackles. That's 17th. Assist, he's 10. Again, not nothing too crazy, but it's just enough that you could forecast your team. You can know what to expect. I guess, when you're talking about floor and ceiling, I guess Jordan Brooks, Devin White are more the ceiling guys. This is more of a floor type of player. Again, Aziz is one of those players. Didn't get a lot of love when he was not on the team. He plays Baltimore this week. That likes to run. That likes to scramble. The last couple weeks of the season, I'm looking at sleeper depending on your scoring, but yeah, 92 snaps, 9 tackles. Week 4, 100%, 9 tackles. Week 15, 100%, 15 tackles. I mean, that's something sustainable. That's something I predict. And in this scoring format, I may have him a little too low, but it's kind of hard to put all these guys and stack them up. You know what I mean, Grant? So when I have Kaiser White, Quinnen Williams, Devin White, Warner, TJ Edwards in front of – it's kind of hard not to put those guys in front of him. So that's why I have him in the top 15. I'm going to show my rankings for the rest here just to give our paid subscribers. And if you guys aren't subscribed to the channel or the IDP, the snap count shares, by all means do so. This is predetermined before the season, before the week starts. Rankings here. I don't think too many rankers are going to give you this for free, but I'm going through my list, and I want to say I went all the way down. Usually, I rank the top 80, and as you guys know, I practice what I preach. I've been pretty good at this. Right now, I got a couple sleepers in here, and I got you to top 70 at the position. This is my rankings, guys. Feel free if anybody jumps out. We can talk about some of these players. And Kenneth Murray, I put 41. Middle of the pack. It's all matchup dependent right now. We got Kendricks coming back, so I got Kendricks ranked 24th, so I really don't see him as being a talking point at the moment. But yeah, guys, these are my rankings. It was a pleasure doing this show with you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to message us. My Twitter handle is IDP Hunters, and AJ's handle is the Baby Cows. And like I said, we'll be with you the rest of the way. We'll have some co-hosts upcoming, And if you like this show, like I said, please subscribe.
Yeah, I think you did a great job. I just want to put one thing out there for everybody. You can sign up at the idpguys.org, and you can save 10% by using this code IDP plus, the plus sign, pods. Once again, that's IDP plus pod, and you'll get 10% off. So, Steve, I think these are great rankings for week 6. Don't have very many questions of why other than what I already asked you. So, and I hope to see you in the top 3, top 2, even top spot every week from here on out.
Yeah, the key to everything is stay up on it. Stay up on it, because during the week we're going to have injuries and a couple players get moved around. So if you guys have any questions during the week, feel free to reach out to me on the Discord or reach out on Twitter. And because like I said, especially you're ranking the top 70, things are going to move around, pieces are going to move. But that's what I have right now on Wednesday. I can't guarantee you it's going to be the same Sunday morning.
Yeah, anything happens in the NFL. For instance, you just never know when a hamstring is going to pull or ankle's going to roll.
Exactly. Any given Sunday.
Exactly. So I think this is a good time to wrap it up here, Steve. So once again, thanks for everybody watching, and thanks for sharing your rankings here.
No problem. And thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching this IDP Guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.